What hazard has Keith Urban, effective parent and track, confronted in his profession? The song icon has dominated the degree, together with his inspiring guitar riffs and lyrics, and has given lovers timeless hits and unforgettable performances. However, Keith has confronted issues which have almost ended his profession. What pain lingers in the back of the warm smile we've come to appreciate? Keith Urban is a call that sparks recollections of electrifying performances. His charismatic stage presence has captured tens of millions. To the world, he is a symbol of success, a country tune icon whose skills seems larger than lifestyles. However, Keith Urban is a great deal extra than only an image of fulfillment. He is the embodiment of perseverance, dedication, sacrifice, energy, super will, and to absolutely recognize him will begin from in which it all started out. Keith Urban was born in a small city in Queensland, Australia, and from a young age he changed into fed-on by way of his love for music. To him, it wasn't only an interest, it was the simplest manner to live. Armed with a second-hand guitar and large goals, he learned to play. However, the percentages were against him. Growing up in a modest family, Keith's circle of relatives faced constant economic struggles. Money changed into tight. However, his dad and mom believed in him, so they scraped collectively something they made to support his budding expertise. It changed into his father, who ran a convenience save that helped push Keith to taking guitar classes, after noticing a flyer for lessons in their community. He even introduced Keith to USA Music. Unfortunately, Keith's father had his personal demons, and that they threatened to devour no longer most affected him, but the entire own family, which includes Keith. Keith himself has openly discussed the impact of his father's struggles with alcoholism on his upbringing and private life. He stated his father's battle with alcohol left emotional scars that deeply affected Keith as he grew up. Unfortunately, his father's addiction left extra than emotional scars. They fueled a struggle in Keith, but they would be pointed out afterward. Keith has another kind of struggle. This one wasn't within him. It becomes something he needed to deal with as he tried to interrupt into the U.S.D track industry, which changed into vastly ruled by means of superb American musicians. Country song is a genre steeped in subculture, deeply tied to its southern roots, and this typically disqualified individuals who failed to stay within the American South. Keith had to fight to prove he belonged, facing skepticism at each turn. Keith encountered closed doorways, harsh rejections, and moments of crushing self-doubt. He wondered if he had what it took to be triumphant, and at instances the weight of external skepticism made the dream sense out of reach. After years of rejection and incessant attempt, his big ruin ultimately arrived, and with it got here the popularity he had dreamed of. Given that he first picked up a guitar, his early albums struck a chord with listeners, showcasing his particular heartfelt lyrics, masterful guitar paintings, and an undeniable air of secrecy that set him apart. Hits like Somebody Like You and But for the Grace of God didn't just climb the charts, they have become anthems, cementing his region in the hearts of fanatics. However, the rate of fame changed into devastating, and it became his circle of relatives who frequently paid for it. The lengthy hours spent in recording studios and the grueling months on the street created a distance that no telephone name or postcard may want to bridge. Relationships were strained, and the guilt of being absent for milestones again home weighed closely on him. The joy from performing became not sufficient to preserve him going. Nights in unexpected motel rooms, the countless cycle of sound assessments and performances, and the pressure to satisfy expectations left him feeling isolated. The applause of hundreds ought to by no means fill the quiet loneliness that lingered after. Questions observed Keith via every milestone, each offered out live performance and every award he gained. How did these pressures form the man we see these days? And what more lies beneath the surface of his extraordinary success? As he started out to grow in his career, the pressure grew crazier, and he observed a way to manage, to quiet the developing voices inside. He used alcohol and pills as a coping mechanism. It became painful that he had commenced at the path that destroyed his father, Soon he too started to feel powerless within the face of his dependency. On the out of doors, Keith turned into the picture of achievement, extraordinary crowds together with his guitar and his allure. But behind closed doorways, he changed into preventing a non-public war. Keith commenced to alternate. From being a move-getter, he commenced to miss opportunities. His conduct had become erratic, and his cognizance became all over the place. His dependency took over his lifestyles and profession. His talent as a musician and his recognition became on the line, and his collaborators became worried. Soon fanatics started out to note, and Keith started to fear dropping it all. Still, Keith remained bound to his addiction. He struggled to break unfastened, caught in a cycle of self-destruction that appeared not possible to break out. His war with dependency didn't just continue to be a personal conflict. As lovers observed, so did the tabloids, and he became a regular person on their headlines. These tabloids precised his addictions and placed a spotlight on his mistakes. They painted a photograph of a man who become losing manage, the advantageous public perception he had shifted, and lovers who, as soon as cherished him, started to impeach whether or not Keith Urban turned into finished for suitable. The music industry is notoriously unforgiving, and when Keith appeared to have misplaced the entirety, he determined he would claw his manner returned. Unfortunately, inside the midst of those controversies, it wasn't a clean streak. He struggled to rebuild trust, each, in my view, and professionally. However, grade by grade, Keith commenced to reclaim his lifestyles and his legacy. The impact of his dependency wasn't restricted to his career. It cut deep into his personal life, and his marriage to actress Nicole Kidman had become a focal point of public scrutiny. People puzzled when they could divorce because of Keith's issues. Nicole but stood by means of him, providing her unwavering aid. From the instant they became a couple, Keith and Nicole were the point of interest of intense media interest. Their love tale became a fairy story to their adoring lovers. Stars from one-of-a-kind worlds coming collectively. He, a rustic song sensation from Australia, and she, a Hollywood celebrity with an Academy Award to her name. However, the two linked, and their first meeting would mark the start of a love that could stand the test of time. They met in 2005 once they had been attending the G-Day USA Gala, an occasion celebrating Australians making waves inside the United States. Nicole, radiant and poised, caught Keith's eye almost instantly. For Keith, it changed into love before everything's sight, or as he later defined it, the moment he realized, there's my spouse. But the path to their connection wasn't on the spot. Although his feelings have been instant, he hesitated to approach Nicole. Months surpassed earlier than he, in the end, summoned the braveness to call her. When he did, the spark among them ignited effortlessly. Conversations flowed, and what started out as mutual interest blossomed into something an awful lot deeper. Their courtship became not anything brief of romantic. Keith, known for his knack for writing lyrics that tug on the heartstrings, poured that equal passion into prevailing Nicole's heart. He famously drove her to her 38th birthday celebration on his Harley-Davidson, a gesture that left her swooning and set the tone for their whirlwind romance. Nicole, who had been cautious about love after her very public divorce from Tom Cruise, determined something awesome in Keith. His authenticity, kindness, and devotion broke through her partitions, and she or he fell for the person behind the song. Keith, in turn, observed in Nicole a kindred spirit, a female who understood the complexities of fame, however, cherished the easy joys of lifestyles. In June 2006, just 12 months once they met, the couple tied the knot in a stunning rite in Sydney, Australia. Then it befell. In October 2007, Keith Urban skilled a moment that highlighted both the perils of repute and the fragility of lifestyles. Riding his motorcycle near his domestic in Sydney, Australia, he observed himself pursued by way of a constant paparazzo. The incident became extra than a near call. It became a stark reminder of the constant demanding situations faced by the ones inside the public eye. Keith, a self-proclaimed lover of bikes, was on his manner to an Alcoholics Anonymous assembly while the occasion spread out. As the photographer observed carefully in the back of, Keith attempted to speed as much as keep his privacy. In an unexpected twist, an oncoming automobile made an illegal U-turn, leaving Keith in not using a secure alternative but to drop his motorcycle to avoid a collision. Thankfully, the crash left him uninjured, a stroke of good fortune that would have without problems gone another way. What's splendid approximately the story is the behavior of the pursuing photographer. Rather than snapping photographs of Keith in a prone nation, the character helped him off the street. In an announcement released rapidly after, Keith defined the state of affairs as a clash between his need for privateness and the photographer's pressure to do their task. The incident additionally carried a deeper resonance. He was in restoration from dependency on the time and heading to a assembly, a sacred space for a person working to live sober. This context made the chase sense specifically invasive, including emotional weight to an already risky scenario. How does a person like Keith Urban persevere to navigate the spotlight while guarding his humanity? Perhaps that's a question all of us ponder as we comply with his journey 1 mile at a time. Keith moved on from the incident, and together with his companion, they are proud parents to 2 daughters. Sunday Rose, born in 2008, and Faith Margaret, who joined the family through surrogate in 2010. Sunday, the eldest, has already proven an interest in following her mom's footsteps into acting, an ardor she's exploring with Nicole's encouragement. Faith, alternatively, stalks a love for music, taking violin lessons and developing her artistic facet. Both girls revel in creative pastimes, but their upbringing is carefully balanced with shape and down-to-earth circle of relatives' traditions. Keith and Nicole emphasize the importance of time collectively, adhering to a rule of never being aside for extra than every week. They also preserve workouts like family dinners and attending church, ensuring their daughters grow up with a strong feel of belonging and stability. Though fiercely non-public about their children, Keith and Nicole occasionally provide glimpses into their lives.